Hey mama, if you're starting to get a little concerned about your child's development, you're going to want to stick around because in this video, I'm going to be covering when you should be concerned about your little one's development coming up. Hey there and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you happen to be new here, welcome. My name is Nicole. I'm an intentional parenting coach as well as a pediatric occupational therapist, a mom to a 4-year-old and a soon-to-be little, as well as a certified lactation counselor. And on this channel, you're going to get tips, tools, and strategies to help make parenthood easier on you. So if that sounds like something you're into, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button below. All right, so I know that it is so easy to compare our children to other kids that we see, maybe at the park or at a mom and me class, and sometimes it makes us question whether or not our child is on track developmentally. So I want to share some important pieces that might help ease your mind or at least give you some clear-cut indicators as to when you should really be concerned. All right, so many of you might be familiar with what's called developmental milestones, and developmental milestones are sort of a universal marker to help show where your child should be depending on his or her age. And typically they move in about 3-month segments in the first year of life. So there are major milestones that take place at 3, 6, 9, 12 months of age. And then the gap gets a little bit bigger after 12 months of age. So there's an intense amount of development happening in that first year. So what's important to note is that normal development has a range. And so just because your child has not hit the age milestones at, let's say, 6 months old, does not mean that your child is developmentally behind or delayed. And what I like to share with parents is there's generally like a couple month range depending on your child's age. So crawling is a milestone that may or may not happen at or around 6 months of age. But what's important for parents to note is that that could happen at 8 months and your child is still developmentally on track. So these developmental milestones sort of follow a bell curve. And if you think about a bell curve, you have a majority of people, or babies in this case, reaching these milestones at the indicated age. But some babies will reach those milestones ahead of time, and there will be some babies that reach the milestone a little bit later. But all of it is considered typical or normal development in this case. So for example, let's say that your little one is not yet sitting up independently at 6 months of age. It does not mean that your child is developmentally behind. It may take your child another month or two to be independent and sitting on his or her own. Now, as an occupational therapist, we actually have very specific standards in terms of what makes or qualifies a baby for being developmentally delayed. And it'll vary state by state and even country by country. But here in California, we have a marker of 33%. So if your child is showing a delay of 33% or more in any one of the 5 developmental categories, then your little one, who is age 0 to 3 years old, would qualify for some type of service, whether that's physical therapy, occupational therapy, or speech language pathology, maybe even early intervention. So what are the 5 major categories of development? If you're not familiar with them, they are fine and gross motor skills, language skills, cognitive skills, and social emotional skills. And I'm going to actually link my developmental milestone chart for you below so you have access to the major milestones that take place within the first year of life. So as an occupational therapist, we would look and evaluate your baby for developmental delay in one or more of these categories. And again, if we find that your child is 33% delayed in any one of them, your baby would likely qualify for services. So what's important to note is that 33% is going to look really different depending on how old your baby is, right? So if you have a 3-month-old and they are being evaluated and they are even a month behind, they're going to qualify for services because that's roughly 33%. Versus if you have a 1-year-old, 12 months, your baby would be having to show skills around the 7 to 8 month mark to have the 33% delay in any one of those categories. So as your child gets older, there's a bigger gap that happens and there's more leeway in terms of what's considered normal and what's not considered typical development. So I just wanted to share this with you because I know it's so easy when you don't have this background to say like, my friend's child is climbing up the slide backwards and my kid hasn't figured out how to sit down and go down the slide forward. What's going on with my child? And I just want to reassure you that normal development does not happen all on the same timeline. There is that beautiful range, and chances are your child is going to hit these major milestones within the next weeks or even months. So take a deep breath, know that you've got this. And the last point I want to make is to trust your gut, because if you do feel like something is definitely off, you can always go to your pediatrician or your primary care physician and just ask for a referral for an evaluation, because the professional, whether it's an OT, a PT, or a speech language pathologist, can do the developmental evaluation and assess and give you actual objective feedback as to whether or not your child is truly delayed or not. And sometimes they may say, your kid's on the border, so we want to monitor them. Maybe they qualify for services once a month, and sometimes your kiddo may be on the border. And if that's the case, maybe the professional decides they just want to keep an eye on your kiddo. So maybe you come in for services or they come to you one time a month just to make sure your kiddo is moving along as he or she should, and then they can make the decision to either pull services because your kiddo's doing great, or if they need to increase services, then it's easier to do that then. So I hope you guys found this helpful, just a little insight in terms of typical development and what we look for as professionals in terms of determining whether your child is truly delayed and needs some services, needs some resources, or if your kiddo's doing just fine. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them below. I will catch you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.